Was I right in the relationship? A psychologist on the nature of truth in relationships. I often get letters from people who can't stop in their search for family happiness. Are you familiar with stories where a person wanders from one relationship to another, then a third, then a 10th, and a 22nd, all trying to find love? At a certain point, such people start studying the laws of karma, then family, and imposed curses, trying to finally break the vicious circle and become happy. It's enough to allow the thought that you too might have been wrong in the relationship. Are you over 40? Or do you simply catch yourself thinking you can't stop, and relationships constantly end either on your terms or not on your terms? In this video, I'll explain the essence of this process. Settings of rightness. How do you understand what's right and what's wrong in life? Think about it. The answer will be something like this. I have a setting, a switch that shows one action has a positive tint and another a negative one. Okay, it's simple enough to understand that to insult is bad and to help is good. But what about the processes that happen in relationships? Why does it seem to us that with the right person, there won't be conflicts? How do we decide that someone suits us or doesn't? And most importantly, how do we recognize when we are the ones systematically making the mistakes? Just look at yourself. In your view, your behavior will always stand out against the behavior of your friends and loved ones. And each of your friends equally considers their behavior more sensible than yours. And if with a friend this question isn't especially acute, replacing that friend with a girlfriend and a closer interaction, we get a question that becomes sharp. How does a person understand whether your behavior is right or wrong? Are there objective parameters, or is everything always subjective? Objective parameters in relationships. Such parameters exist. They go back to childhood, before we had time to absorb subjective information and before our field formed in a certain way. This is the foundation within which you can build your behavior and know that the other person will quite accurately perceive it as proper and worthy. In childhood, we learned about boundaries and rules. Don't go there, that's someone else's. Don't take it, because if you took it, someone has to pay for it. Greet people and smile. These are the pillars of awareness set from childhood. From the very beginning, we intuitively understand how boundaries work. We know we shouldn't take what's not ours. Give it back, that's not yours. You can't take what doesn't belong to you. We also shouldn't open our boundaries and let someone rob us. Take your toys, because if we leave, they might be stolen. We understand the focus should be on the person. When grandma arrives, smile and ask how she's doing. Then she'll give you a good birthday present. For everyone, this is the base. After that, we acquire subjective experience, and it's unique for each person. Don't get attached to a man because they leave. Women only want your money. A man must provide for you. Otherwise, he's not a man. A girlfriend will be alone forever. There must be peace and harmony in a relationship. Take while they're giving. He'll run, and you'll regret not taking more. Go have fun with girlfriends, but never marry. You can always find better. These are vectors, and taking any one of them, we can see how a person's life begins to unfold. If, in childhood, something like this was reinforced, that's parents and the child's family. Let's take as an example a girlfriend who believes a man should be a money bag. She meets Arthur, who really likes her, but he has an average income and won't be able to fully provide for a girlfriend anytime soon. Here's a question for you. Can she not fall in love with him? Of course she can. So why do you describe a person's settings as some kind of block? Remember, a person doesn't fall in love rationally, and they can't force the process of falling in love into some frame, like, I only fall in love with the rich. People with such settings fall in love with the poor just fine, and end up taking out loans secured by their property. Don't take such settings at face value. It's like saying, I control the weather. Ah, nonsense, that's all. In the relationship between Arthur and, say, Angela, will Angela nag Arthur about his low income? Objectively, the chances are high. Why will she do this? Because right now that nasty block of hers is manifesting. Instead of having no rigid settings and reflecting on her happiness in this relationship, she sees that everything seems fine. But if she isn't fully provided for, apparently it could be better. Is Arthur now obliged to work himself to the bone to meet Angela's high demands just to keep the relationship? And the answer is no, he isn't. He's only obliged to stay within his boundaries, not to step onto her territory unless invited, and not to let her onto his too closely, so that instead of money, she doesn't start taking his dignity. By focusing on her, on what he can do for her within his possibilities and desires, while controlling and managing his own life, he will remain right in her eyes despite all her conflicts. Mistake. Trying to convince Angela that she's wrong and that a man shouldn't be a money bag, you're grossly violating her boundaries, and she can slam them shut, saying, "Then let's break up." At that point, you realize you were caught red-handed, you turned out to be a thief, and you start begging for forgiveness, looking quite pathetic. And Angela herself, stepping out of bounds and trampling the lawn on Arthur's territory, will reach the point where he closes his boundaries. And she'll get addiction, which will make her spend her last money and take every type of mortgage if necessary. On family curses and bad fate. Karma and bad fate can be explained. If you're looking for an exemplary wife, don't look for her among women of easy virtue. Look for wives there, and you'll indeed get bad fate and karma. If you want it that badly, don't initiate the action, marry her. With such a person, it's quite enough to have some fun with her for a while. If you swing between addiction and a strong position, your boundaries are bad, very bad. And don't think that just because you're in a strong position, everything is already formed and you understand it all. People end up in a strong position only when they suppress the other's will entirely, swallow them, and get a ready-made slave who fulfills their whims. But you wanted happiness, right? So you walk around dissatisfied. Why is she pestering me and getting into my space? You wanted to control her? Did you succeed? Then don't complain. Do you want balance and the feeling of happiness, not only for the first couple of months? Watch the videos on this channel, learn to work on boundaries, and you'll have happiness. Good luck. Why does an inner feeling of emptiness appear after a breakup? I pace around the room but can't find a place for myself. I walk just to walk, to keep at least a semblance of life. A life I can't feel after the breakup. The main question is, why does the other person feel happiness after the breakup while I feel emptiness? There is an answer. At a certain point, the girlfriend realizes the breakup will happen, while you keep thinking until the very end that you can save the relationship. You think it's within your power to make a person change her decision, and also that it's within her power to refuse the breakup if such thoughts have already entered her mind. No, none of that is under your control. Just like most of the things I talk about on the channel. Your girlfriend begins preparing for her path, a path without a relationship with you. So when she leaves, she's sure of it. But a breakup is a breakup, and both people have the potential to feel the negative states you're going through now. Working with channels. There was a connection between you. It doesn't matter whether you lived together for 20 years or never lived together and just dated for a year and a half. You are connected to the person, and this connection will remain with you for life, and the other person is connected to you. When the girlfriend decides to leave, she's already ready to shut off the channel that pumps energy, and she shuts it off. Your feeling of emptiness is a banal lack of energy. You compare the volume and quality of energy that used to flow through you with what you have now, and you see a huge hole. You can try to fill it with alcohol or random hookups, but it won't work. The quality is totally different, and your brain quickly recognizes the fake. You don't need a new relationship right after the breakup. You need to close your leaks and get your energy back. By the way, you do receive energy every day, but you don't feel it because there are holes through which it simply leaves you. Why the girlfriend is happy after the breakup. On this channel, I talk about restoring relationships, and many men, both in conversations and in their attempts to resuscitate the relationship, push their own energy to the background. Well, there will be no comeback if you don't return your energy to yourself. Why is the girlfriend happy? She shut her side of the channel, and no energy flows from her to you for now. But through your hole, everything that appears in you leaks to her. Now, having closed her channel, she doesn't have to sacrifice her energy to maintain the relationship. And as a bonus, she receives your energy directed at her. Does she regret the breakup now? Of course not. Until you close this gaping abyss, the girlfriend will think that only by leaving you did she find her happiness, while in reality she simply isn't giving out energy and is gladly receiving yours. Do you see why she's growing wings, and when you try to restore the relationship, she's proud beyond measure? As long as you have no energy, you look so pitiful that you lose your gendered presence. She doesn't see a man in you, just nobody. What happens when a man shuts the channel? If a man shuts the energy channel quickly enough, the girlfriend feels the same range of feelings the abandoned man feels after a breakup. She finally understands this is a real breakup, not only with positives, but also negatives. Yes, she still has her own energy, but the energy that flowed from the man is no longer available to her. As I said in a previous video, for her the breakup now is a loss she wasn't prepared for. She thought that everything she had would remain, and something new would be gained. As a result, she simply feels loneliness and a mistake, because she also experiences that same emptiness, only in smaller volumes, since the person who left from a strong position always knows he can restore the relationship. Then she links these events to the breakup and realizes there was indeed value in the man. And of course, her sense of significance toward the man, against the backdrop of his correct behavior, her loneliness, and her sense of loss, begins to grow along the lines I described in the videos on relationship restoration. How to shut the channel. If you want to come back, you must finally move control inside yourself. Learn to control not her social media and movements around the city, but your own life. Close that hole or spend your energy down to zero so it goes into your development, not the girlfriend's. You won't find a life hack to forget the girlfriend with a snap of your fingers and stop feeding her image, and her herself, with your spoiled products. But you can do it through your will. At first, it will be unpleasant, of course, because you so want to control the person even after the breakup. But in just 2 weeks, you'll see how much easier it's become. You'll not only get rid of the feeling of emptiness, your reservoirs will begin to fill, and your girlfriend will notice this very quickly. And forget the illusion that you're watching her not to watch her, but for yourself. You're watching her only because you still believe she's under your control and that this surveillance will benefit you. That's the mistake. The benefit is in the opposite. What mistakes lead to a breakup? Let's examine another love story. If you want to believe relationships are chaos and there are no processes in them, then the time you spend watching this video may be wasted. I talk about the mechanics of relationships for people who want to understand. And I'm glad when people listen and gradually come to certain realizations in their lives that help them avoid mistakes and successfully restore lost relationships. In this video, we'll look at another love story that came to my email. Let me remind you again. I never publish stories without the person's consent, and if consent is given, names and facts that point to a specific person are changed to preserve confidentiality.
My name is Sam. I'm 36, divorced. I have a good income, a car, and my own house. I want to tell a story and get your comments. I met Alice on a dating site. She's 29, a striking educated girlfriend. During our conversations and dates, I really liked her, and I asked her to be exclusive. We felt very good together. Every time I came home after a date, I was full of energy. The girlfriend said she wanted to think about whether she needed a relationship. She didn't give me a clear answer.
That's the beginning. Analyze it yourself. What thoughts arise? What can be said about this story? Compare with what I'll say next about the situation. You can do this every time and compare. Seeing how much the information I publish actually helps you. If you're starting to figure things out bit by bit, excellent. The man talks about meeting, during which the girlfriend appealed to him. There are no signs that he appealed to her, yet he still thinks it felt good for both. This is the simplest projection. I like her, therefore she likes me. As long as you don't understand your level of significance, you might assume it's high, but then you must also allow that she may not like you that much. That's the current situation. The man proposes a relationship to a girlfriend who doesn't have strong significance toward him. What does she get? She sees significance directed at her, and her growth immediately slows. The moment she understands the man wants a relationship and she isn't ready, she starts reading this in his every action and at every meeting. The lightness disappears, and the evaluation of the person for suitability begins. That heavily slows the growth of interest. Rapid growth comes from lightness and spontaneity.
We talked, took walks, had fun, and after a while, she decided she did want the relationship. She saw a man in me, and that's how we started dating. The relationship lasted 3 years. The girlfriend does a dance, which I didn't like. Who would like it when a girlfriend dances go-go? I understood I had no right to make decisions for her, and I didn't force her to quit if she liked it. I simply said it wouldn't suit me in the future because there would constantly be reasons for jealousy. And when I picked her up and she told me about it, I didn't support the conversation and show with my demeanor that I wasn't interested.
Here's a point I covered in one of the latest videos. The man puts himself above control while repeatedly trying to control. Not only does he want to control, he also puts himself above the girlfriend by saying she won't suit him, though initially it was the man who didn't suit her, while she very much suited him. Don't treat a girlfriend's yes as yes for life. Don't think that if a girlfriend is in a relationship with you, she loves you more than you love her and is incapable of ending things in a moment. That only grows the illusion of your own significance, after which you start thinking, do you even want this? Later, the girlfriend gets tired of it and you let her go under the illusion that she's madly in love. But 3 days later, you run to get her back. You need a sober mind and an understanding of her significance toward you, and yours toward this girlfriend. As for she saw a man in me, that clearly shows what I said earlier. She didn't see a man. She simply realized we were constantly communicating anyway, so why not try? It says nothing by itself. Maybe she saw a man. Maybe she was just bored. Maybe she read in a horoscope that the man beside her is her happiness and decided to check. And with such thoughts, illusions always arise for you. I've already told how they affect relationships.
The girlfriend is good. She constantly took an interest in my life. She wanted to meet my friends and was upset that I didn't introduce her. I didn't want to because I didn't understand whether the relationship would lead to anything. We went skiing for a week. She tagged me in our photo and I removed the tag. That became the reason for a conflict in which she said this kind of interaction doesn't suit her if the man doesn't take her seriously. She left me and stopped responding.
Do you see high significance toward the girlfriend in this story? Yes, it's there. And here the girlfriend uses a very effective tool to grow her significance, even if it looks like a simple tantrum. But in her case, it works. Guess why? If you're subscribed to the channel, you can find the answer. She leaves anchors in his psychological field, and then in a moment, she cuts the ropes tied to those anchors and starts drifting away. First, she wants to meet friends and integrate into the man's life, and he relaxes, thinking all is well. She tags him in a photo, and he gets the illusion that she wants more. Then, she says she doesn't want anything at all and cuts all the ropes. Where's the growth of her significance? Since in reality her significance toward the man isn't very high, she sees the man's illusions and simply rips them down. When illusions shatter, it hurts, and the man immediately realizes how much he actually needs the girlfriend. He also realizes he has no power. And what does he want? To get the illusions back. And since in his mind the girlfriend needs him, he accepts the idea that she just got upset. They reconcile, and the illusions return. Now the man continually restores those illusions in the same way, losing bits of his dignity each time.
I realized I needed her very much, and 2 days later, I went to make peace. We reconciled and then moved in together. I noticed jealousy starting to appear in me, but I still didn't forbid anything. I just always tried to find out where she was and with whom. We had conflicts, but as a man, I tried to show that there's another way, that we can talk and resolve conflicts. We fought and made up, like everyone. I had never dealt with jealousy in my marriage, and I don't understand why it showed up in this relationship. I'm not 20 anymore, things seem fine, but all our conflicts were around my jealousy. To be fair, I treated her well, didn't insult her, didn't raise a hand, and I didn't control much either. After 6 months, the relationship started to deteriorate, and she began saying things like, relationships aren't forever. I can be happy with anyone. Right now, I'm happy with you. I didn't like that, and I tried in every possible way to show that we were fine, and most importantly, better than our acquaintances.
The man understands conflicts should be resolved, and that's good. But do you see that he's always the one resolving them? The girlfriend got tired of the jealousy and the silent reproach. Through these, she acquires arrogance and starts to feel the man is unworthy of her. After that comes a craving for comfort. Since the one beside me is unworthy yet still here, let me at least be comfortable. Now the man must match her idea of the ideal man. Why did this happen? Because the man has illusions of significance and illusions of non-control. Though control runs like a red thread through this relationship from the very beginning to the very end. You want to transmit your thoughts to the girlfriend and make them her own? Isn't that precisely the desire to control a person? To be fair, you can work on this and learn to shed the main defects. Then illusions won't grow, and sober judgment will remain. A man can work on his significance, knowing the real state of affairs. With illusions, never. They interfere a lot.
The last conflict where she left was the moment I'd had enough, and I said I was the one leaving. She agreed, we moved out, but 3 weeks later, I really wanted to restore the relationship. I can say I didn't expect her to refuse reconciliation. It seemed to me she loved me. I went to make peace, but she refused to even come out and talk. I called her, but in response I got, what do you want? What should I do? I want to get the relationship back.
There's not much information here, but you can see that the man is full of illusions that cloud his mind. He believes he's had enough, and that by leaving the girlfriend will run after him, since he did everything and is ready for such a step. His real significance toward the girlfriend is cosmic, and hers toward him is almost zero. By making such a move, the man removes responsibility from the girlfriend. Then his illusions crumble. He realizes no one is running after him, so he gathers himself and runs after her, understanding things aren't working as he planned. In this situation, the man wasn't bad. He looks good and didn't threaten the woman's life. So in this case, with correct behavior, restoration is possible. But do you see how much you need to change your mindsets in relationships to avoid this next time? Do you see the main mistakes in this situation? Next to her, the girlfriend sees a person who seems good, but who constantly tries either to extract something from her or drag her where she doesn't want to go. Naturally, despite all his positive qualities, it becomes stifling for her. Could the man have acted differently in this story? Yes. The girlfriend was open to him, and all the potential was in him. By understanding how the mechanisms work, a person doesn't learn to manipulate. He learns to control his boundaries, and by controlling himself, he changes beyond recognition. How to predict a breakup, even before a relationship begins. Today, we'll talk about predictions and forecasts in relationships, not the tarot card kind, and not the forecasts sold by cappers, tipsters. This is more like simple analysis of initial data to see development vectors. Prediction versus forecast. Without understanding how the field works, a person will never grasp where forecasts come from, or why they so often prove right. Regular, accurate theories already, and that only shows that an understanding is gradually coming that human behavior is subject to certain laws. By seeing behavior and the situation in the psychological field, it's easy to forecast a person's subsequent behavior and desires. You can predict an apple's fall if you know about gravity. When you feel the wind, you understand the shift in the fall vector. A professional golfer calculates strike force well and plans the ball's trajectory. Successful traders can forecast stock declines based on the situation in the country. Yes, of course, any forecast can turn out wrong. Naturally, a person can make a mistake, and naturally, despite a forecast, things can turn out differently. But the fact remains, experienced traders make fewer mistakes, and professional golfers beat novices. The knowledge I'm talking about is needed precisely for this: a girlfriend who's looking for a strong man. This situation is familiar to everyone and is very well suited to show the forces that determine a relationship's development vector. Let's consider a situation where a man really liked a girlfriend and wants to build a relationship with her. Men fall into herbivores, predators, and chameleons. Herbivores are men without rich relationship experience. They kindly try to make the relationship good and comfortable for the girlfriend. They're the most honest and open people. They're the ones who usually start making mistakes right away, mistakes that over time lead the other person to rejection, even though they're actually the most suitable for relationships. Chameleons are pseudo-alphas who think they know what they're doing and operate only by humiliating the girlfriend, so she's in a weak position. They know manipulations that work and live by them. This knowledge clouds judgment, making them think they fully control their lives, though control isn't there and never was. Initially, they make no mistakes, but as soon as they meet a more independent woman, they want to privatize her so badly that they melt down faster than the first type. Predators are people who either have it by nature or acquired it through intense self-work. These are the people who truly can control their own lives. They don't seek control over others, but other people, for some reason, want to be under their control. There's no manipulation in them. They truly live this way. They're 1%, maybe less. Let's talk about the first and second types. When a woman laments in conversation how few strong men there are in the world, your macho mode switches on. You rub your hands happily because you know that now she's met a strong man. Most often, that's the mistake. Don't overestimate yourself to avoid the illusion of superiority because the girlfriend is saying she's weak and wants strength nearby. And you're the hero. The first thing to observe is how the woman talks to her parents. If you notice a power struggle in the family with the mother or father, they don't get along. That's the first bell. Understand, not everything people say should be taken literally. If the girlfriend considered all men weak in hindsight, be sure that at first she found them quite worthy, just as she does you right now. What does this lead you to? To the possibility that this girlfriend, with behavior oriented toward leadership in the family, was meeting in battles with a man who, quite possibly, is also fighting some battles at work. The poor guy fights at work, then comes home and fights there. And at some point, he simply gets tired and yields control because he has no energy left. That's when he becomes weak. This is always easy to read by looking at the family and its relationships. Most often, either the mother leads or the father is absent, and the mother carries all the burden of management. Being in such a situation for no less than 16 years, many start living on their own at 16. The girlfriend, in most cases, acquires these qualities. Why is it easy to forecast that you too will become weak if you like the girlfriend a lot? Because you won't notice this battle for control. You don't even know it's taking place. For you, male strength becomes accepting the situation, and then you start bending yourself under the situation. Subjectively, you'll see strength in yourself. Objectively, you'll lose it. At times, the illusions will fall and you'll quarrel, but 3 days later, you'll run back with apologies. How understanding helps. When you don't grow illusions, you see, and seeing is always better than not seeing. You become difficult to manage. For example, in this context, you understand that perhaps the situation is indeed as the girlfriend described, but you don't discount the possibility that the girlfriend herself isn't a gift, and that the male weakness could be her doing. You don't try to convince her of this because you understand control is illusory. This information helps you. What does it give you? You like the girlfriend and want to build a relationship. No one has learned to switch off attraction, and you haven't either. You can build a relationship while avoiding mistakes you would surely have made without this knowledge. This makes the relationship more resilient and prevents it from ending as quickly as it might have. Love is a strange thing, isn't it? The girlfriend won't see in you the defects her exes had, even if partly prompted by her. You don't become readable and controllable. You keep your face, self-respect, personality, and the relationship, and undoubtedly step up a level. How we invent a love that never existed. Some people after a breakup not only can't get the relationship back, they can't even understand the essence of the relationship that was destroyed by the other person. These two are closely connected. If you want to get the relationship back, you must first remove the illusions of the wild love you think you both had. People believe in a strong bond that ties a particular girlfriend and a man, and in their eyes, the girlfriend is simply making a mistake, slipping up, and the men wait patiently. And they don't see the mistakes they themselves made in the relationship, or they can't understand the reason for the sharp cooling at the end. Why did she act the way she did? Everything seemed so good. The illusion of mutual love. You met a girlfriend and fell in love with her. Her responses may not be like yours, but you'll still see in her the same wild love, or even more. It seems to you that she, like you, saw the meaning of life in this relationship. The first thing you must stop doing is projecting your feelings onto the other person. Until you see the other person's subjecthood, you'll never get rid of the desire to control someone else's life. Until you get rid of control, the result, in the form of reviving the relationship, won't give you a chance to build a balanced, happy relationship. It's painful to accept, but the passion, emotional connection, and shared thoughts may be only yours. If the girlfriend felt the same for you as you did for her, she wouldn't have been able to leave you. Your position is weak. If the girlfriend had even half the same position, she'd be hanging on your every word and definitely wouldn't be planning to go anywhere. She'd sooner tie you to a radiator in an urge to claim such a wonderful person. When a person leaves, you're no longer needed, and perhaps we're only needed for a specific moment in time. When you understand that the wild love might never have existed, your eyes open and you can see the following things. What the illusion of love forces you to do. A person who appropriates the image of the other doubles all his emotions and feelings and hands one half to the other person. Now, the girlfriend must feel the same. And then the man sincerely doesn't understand why the girlfriend behaves the way she does. What behavioral mode turns on? The mentor, of course. And it couldn't fail to turn on, because with his illusions, the man leads himself to believe that the girlfriend simply doesn't understand how she should behave correctly. Do you get this? If from the start you understood the other person's subjecthood, and that their thoughts are their thoughts, and their actions are based on their own thoughts, you would accept the fact that the girlfriend is meeting other men behind your back simply because she doesn't see you as long-term, and there's no love there. Not at all because she doesn't understand how you dislike it. You wouldn't even start to humiliate yourself, and your significance wouldn't be dropping at bullet train speed. Without illusions, it's much easier to stay sober-minded and solve problems. Palaces and temples of the world of illusions. When we live in illusions, we erect an entire city inside ourselves, and of course, the more infrastructure it has, the less we want to abandon it. It's our brainchild. It may be destroying us, but it's ours. At first, we get a feeling of love, and finding indirect signs, we build out an entire city. Physical closeness with the girlfriend lights a wild passion in you. Our temperaments match. There's another little house. You and the girlfriend say the same word at the same time. There's such a strong connection between us. We feel each other at a distance. The girlfriend starts talking about how she wants to get married. She's talking about marriage. She definitely has plans for our relationship. All these things, and hundreds more, may be nothing but our own property that has nothing to do with the girlfriend. The larger the population of your city of illusions, the more water and food it needs. And since the source, your girlfriend's actual responses, has too small a flow, the city's mayor, which is you, starts trying to squeeze the maximum from the source. And as your city of illusions grows, you, without even noticing, start trying to pull more and more from the girlfriend, lowering your own significance. Here, it's essential to understand your city is your city. And as its mayor, you do everything for your citizens, trying to feed and water them. You can't do otherwise once you've started building this city. But the source you're feeding from is the wrong one because it's unstable. And unlike an ordinary static source, it can get up and leave when exploited like that, which is exactly what the girlfriend does. When love disappears, you wake up and realize there's nothing to feed or water the city with. The city was your meaning, but now you realize it can't exist. And now you link your viability to the source in the form of the girlfriend. By any and all means, you try to put it back in its rightful place. Do you humiliate yourself? Yes, of course. You can't not humiliate yourself. You weren't obliged to build and maintain such infrastructure, but you consistently did. Now you have no other options. Maybe it was good for the girlfriend with you at first, but your illusion infrastructure starts trying to squeeze everything out of her, and she closes her boundaries. I only talk about relationships and restoring relationships. I consult only on breakups and relationship restoration. So now I'll tell you at what stage the girlfriend understands you can be close again. Nostalgia for places of travel. Despite how much you tried to squeeze energy out of the girlfriend to feed your illusions, she remembers that campfire you and she sat by. That starry sky that surrounded you, and after a certain period of time, with your correct behavior, only that will matter. She returns to the desert where that city stood. Not to see the city, it became repulsive to her. She wants to see that fire in you, and when she sees it, she starts to cry with happiness, because it's what seemed long forgotten, and what she so wanted to get back. That is effective, not building additional illusion infrastructure to keep exploiting her further. You not only need to watch the videos on this channel and understand distancing, resources, and boundaries, you must see your illusions, visualize them, and demolish that entire unnecessary city to the ground. Love in the 21st century. Operating manual, 3 types of modern love. The most interesting thing is watching how a person with a pronounced defect tries to reason about the essence of love. With a skewed worldview, love turns into a crooked, toothless old woman with 2 names: dependence and emptiness. That's what most people now call love. Dependence. Dependence hidden behind the mask of love is easy to recognize. You are absent from it. It's clearly visible that there is a relationship, but you are not in it. There is only the other person. You dissolve within the other person. At first, you merge with them because objectively, they fit the role of someone you could merge with. You transfer your personality onto the other person and clothe their shell in yourself. Treating the other as your property, you hand over part of your personality and then all of yourself. You don't see the other's individuality and the boundaries which, when crossed, make you an unwanted guest. You consider yourselves a single whole in the relationship. Since the other's image is a sweet prize, and you objectively don't measure up to it, you try with all your might to appropriate it, without understanding the person might be against it. When the other person closes their boundaries, your personality remains locked within them, and you can no longer see your own happiness apart from that person. Without a retained personality, a person becomes extremely malleable, hence your humiliations in the relationship. It seems to you that you are one, but only to you. The person closes off, and you remain on their territory, and what's left of you tries to pry open their boundaries to go in and take back what's yours. I made a video about territories. It's important to understand what is yours and what is not. Don't go where it's not yours, and especially don't leave parts of yourself on someone else's territory if you don't want to lose them. By competently constructing your boundaries, you stop leaving pieces of yourself on someone else's territory, and your dignity stays at your base, preventing you from reaching the stage of addiction. You are responsible for ending up in addiction. The man is not to blame, the woman is not to blame. Don't shift responsibility. Otherwise, next time, you'll end up there again, and again, someone else will be at fault. You lose yourself, and since you are originally on your own territory, and no one can move you onto someone else's except you, you alone are at fault here. Emptiness. If we're talking about the complete absence of love, you might call it a strong position, an imbalance, whatever you like. If emptiness is about you, you may notice that in relationships, you cannot feel the other person's value at all. They block the sun from shining on you. They're not interesting in interaction, and you perceive them as a tail with no functionality. But cutting it off hurts, and hardly anyone does it. Everyone somehow lives with it. Encountering emptiness in life, you will someday encounter addiction, because both are caused solely by your inability to competently outline the circle of your influence. You don't understand what is yours and what is not. You invade someone else's territory to swallow the other's personality. Emptiness arises when you manage to do this and gain control. Addiction arises when their boundaries close to you. You remain outside, and the personality is inside. Balance. Only by learning to understand the other person's agency and your own, and by ceasing to invade someone else's domain, do you gain the possibility of living in balance with another. You must stop wanting to endow the other person with your brain and accept their individuality, history, and logic of behavior. The interesting point is that you can get a complete absence of love only by swallowing a person and subjugating them to your will. But if you don't strive for that from the outset, you won't end up in emptiness. You fall into addiction only when you see a juicy image you want to merge with, take steps toward it, enter the other person's territory, and in the end their boundaries close and the larger part of you remains inside them. Where you wanted to rule, you remain as a slave. Balanced relationships are neither the first nor the second. It's the state where the other person's value is equal to your own. You regard them as your equal, not as like you, but silly, not as someone you want to merge with to get a tasty piece of their energy. As a person as individual as you are, with whom you neither attack their boundaries nor project your thoughts onto them, making your thoughts theirs. I'm explaining this to show that you don't have to swap a relationship where I'm loved but I don't love for one where I did everything and wasn't appreciated. There's always a third option that can be achieved only by changing your basic settings. Recall a situation where you were in addiction and ask yourself, did you try to implant your thoughts into the other person? It didn't work, did it? And then you fell into addiction. Now recall a moment when you succeeded in doing it. What was the outcome? Emptiness. So maybe it's time to break this vicious circle and choose balance. Breakup. How to regain your lost strength. A person who's been left is not much different from a drowning man, except the drowning man tries to find his footing, while the abandoned one flailing in the water tries to instruct and teach the person who left how to live, which surely only causes greater rejection. Why try? Because it used to work, so you want to get results using the old pattern. But before, he was in the boat. Now he's overboard. The difference is colossal. Everyone after a breakup wants to restore the relationship. That's like a drowning man thinking about how to tame the wave. He thinks, chokes on it, and drowns, when he should be thinking about how to survive. A recipe for restoring a relationship. Understand that when you were in the boat, you were on equal terms. So, how did it happen that you got thrown out? The boat didn't crash on the rocks, you ended up in the water, and the other person is waving to you. They're fine, you're not. You ended up weaker. So, admit that you lost this battle. It's not worth trying to outplay anything from this position. Your chances of coming out a winner are zero. In the book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, the hero's path is shown in any religion, any film, and any novel. Millions of stories, but the path is always the same. First, the hero realizes he is weak in the face of the threat. He loses the battle but finds strength through a series of events and always becomes the victor. That's why these stories are interesting. They are not stories about John trying to fight every 2 minutes. That book would have been closed after John's third attempt to win while he's weak. So why, feeling your emptiness? Are you trying to convince the girlfriend that you are the best choice? Sounds funny, doesn't it? The recipe for your life is the plot of that book. Finding yourself overboard? You should not hope the girlfriend will condescend to you and save you from the depths. You must learn to swim on your own. This is the first step to restoring your strength. In moments when you think, I have problems, and he would save me and give me firm ground. Why did she leave? You start hunting for someone else's energy resource, while the other person doesn't want to give you even 5% of it. You forget that you once owned 100% of your strength and energy. The bottom you're on is promising, because in the process of rebuilding yourself, you will find strength within, the kind that, with the right behavior, no one will be able to take from you. To return yourself to yourself, you need to understand exactly where you are now. This is the starting point. But it's always easier to think everything is fine than to accept the fact that you left part or all of yourself on the other person's territory, and all that energy and strength now belong only to them. An entrepreneur who has gone bankrupt can live on memories of when everything was great. Why? Because he doesn't believe he can repeat the path and, beyond that, eliminate mistakes. It's hard and always easier to give up and live on memories, overlaying them onto the life you have now, creating an illusion of your significance. Maybe it was then, but it's not now, and illusions remain just illusions. Relationships reduced to egoism. We all want our own happiness, and that's the manifestation of ego. When it seems to you that the other person has the potential to make you happy, you want to merge with that person. Even the thought, I want to make them happy, is built on egoism. That's human nature in love. We want to make the other happy because they will make us happy. When we try to make the other person happy while getting nothing in return, we're just giving our love on credit. This is confirmed by roughly 300 cases a year in practice, where the girlfriend initially is in the weaker position, but at the stage when things flip, she begins to squeeze from the man the energy she once gave just because. When the breakup happened, you were left because merging with you was no longer interesting. Either you don't give happiness, or you pull the other person's happiness from them, appearing as a thief in their eyes. When a person sees you trying to drag their energy out of them, they tie all their personal failures to you. That is the pinnacle of ineffective behavior, and it always leads to a breakup. Now, about restoration. Notice how foolish 2-week or 3-day comeback methods, text message returns, or love spells sound. This manipulative influence is aimed only at creating a short-term illusion in the other person. An illusion that the breakup might have been a mistake, and the other can still bring happiness. At a distance, it's easy to do, but what does the girlfriend who left get in the end? Within 2 days, she sees her strong position and your weak one. And again, you block her light. Through your leaks, energy flows to the girlfriend in full. You haven't gotten your strength back. You have neither external nor internal supports. And when we have nothing of our own, we try to wring it out of another person thinking they owe us. You are trash right now that someone momentarily decided not to throw away, but it stinks again. And so, to the trash, it goes. See, trash has no value. No one sees potential in it. But once it's recycled, it's bought again. There's a craftsman who turns trash into exclusive furniture. Is it possible that someone threw out an old shabby chair and later buys it back from this craftsman? Of course. He'll pay $1,000 and never even think it was made from what he himself once threw away. Only when your fire is burning again do you have value to someone, not when you want to pull back what you once voluntarily gave. That's their property now, not yours, and they neither intend nor are obliged to give it back. Forget the energy, time, and money you voluntarily gave. It was a gift, so don't even bring it up. It's not yours anymore. Why does no contact work? In my videos, I often talk about the effect no contact has on a girlfriend or a man after a breakup. But what does it give you? First, it gives you time to climb out of the pit. Your energy doesn't go to the girlfriend, it stays with you. Some especially dim psychologists advise, after a breakup, to try to show how important the girlfriend is to you. Understand, you are not important to her right now. How important she is to you, she knows perfectly well without your stalking. When you close your boundaries to any influence, you not only trigger certain thoughts in her, mostly you yourself become capable of a relatively quick recovery. The first thing to do if you want to restore the relationship is to refuse any kind of contact. Don't reply to her messages. Don't initiate contact. Don't study her social media. It's absolutely irrelevant what's happening in her life. The most common illusion is that if you keep tabs on the girlfriend and find out she has a new man, then you shouldn't waste effort on restoration. Understand, you're spending those efforts now on restoring yourself, and you'll have to do that anyway. And you don't need to be up to date on your ex-girlfriend's affairs. You haven't detached, you're still glued to her so tightly it's scary. What kind of restoration can there be when you're trying to figure out the make of the car she posed in? And whether yours is better, or whether that's just a friend next to her, or something more? Often out of weakness, a person looks for a magic pill. How can I close the energy channel and live happily? You don't want happiness, so why are you watching this channel? You want to be sad. You might not even want a happy relationship. You want to think about what's gone. If you want happiness, find your will. It's always there, lifeless, dried up, but will. Your will. Feed it, and eventually it will give you strength. By restoring your strength and going through the stages properly, you receive contact from the other person. Yes, he will actually write to you. They'll write even if all you do is keep no contact properly. The only difference is that when your energy is restored, a fire lights in you again, and the other person sees it the way they saw it on the first day you met. If you understand the essence, your fire becomes much stronger, and it will be a fire you don't hand over to her again, but one that stands on your territory and is something desirable. I deal only with restoring and resuscitating relationships. And based on practice, for a moment, about 150 consultations a month, I see the statistics of restored relationships. And you know what I like most? When a person wants to figure it out. Not to get 3 behavioral steps, but to understand how it works. Exactly such a person calls 3 or 4 months later with a confident voice and says how much their life has changed. Exactly such a person calmly says the ex-girlfriend reached out and wants to love again. And exactly, he says, I don't know, I'm thinking whether I even need this now. Because he found happiness in himself, while also getting a clear request to restore the relationship. So why is he thinking after wanting it so much? Because he got himself back. Because he doesn't need a life boy. He himself can be the life boy now. His position has leveled relative to the girlfriend's position, and he is able to control his life. That's what I call a happy ending.